The broadcast of the special meeting of the Charter Commission will now begin.
Good afternoon. Welcome to this live broadcast of our virtual meeting. This meeting includes the remote participation of members as authorized under Minnesota statutes section 13D.021 due to the declared local health pandemic. The city will be recording and posting this meeting to the city's website and YouTube channel as a means of increasing public access and transparency. This meeting is public and subject to the Minnesota Open Meeting Law. My name is Barry Clegg and I'm the chair of the Charter Commission. This meeting is now called to order and I'll ask the clerk to call the roll so that we may verify the presence of a quorum.
Commissioner Abbott.
Present.
Commissioner Cohen.
Here.
Commissioner Garcia.
Present.
Commissioner Ginder.
Present.
Commissioner Hawkins.
Present.
Commissioner Kozak.
Here.
Commissioner Metschi.
Here.
Commissioner Newborn is excused. Commissioner Perry.
Here.
Commissioner Rubenstein.
Present.
Commissioner Sandberg.
Present.
Commissioner Schwarzkopf.
Present.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
And Commission Chair Clegg.
Here.
There are 13 members present and 1 member excused.
Thank you. We have a quorum, so we'll now proceed to the agenda, a copy of which was posted for public access to the city's Legislative Information Management System, which is available at lims.minneapolismn.gov. So the agenda is before us. May I please have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion Sandberg.
Don't move. Second, Metschi.
It's been moved and seconded. We have a proper motion before us. Is there any discussion before the clerk calls the roll?
Cohen.
Commissioner Cohen?
I'm going to vote against approval of the agenda only because I would prefer to have a feature in the agenda which permits all the members of the Charter Commission to speak with reference to the structure committee report. And my understanding from my discussion with you, Chairman Clegg, is that we will not be discussing that report under the terms of the approval of the agenda because of the public hearing nature of this report. And therefore, I have decided that I will make my remarks as a member of the public when the opportunity presents itself during this afternoon.
Thank you, Commissioner. And just a reminder that every commissioner will have the opportunity to discuss this at our next regular commission meeting. This is a special meeting, a reminder. So our business is limited to what was set forth in the agenda that was posted. So the public hearing is on our agenda and that's all we can legally do. We can't add anything to it right now.
I understand.
Thank you. We have a proper motion before us. Is there any other discussion? With that, seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Commissioner Abbott.
Aye.
Commissioner Cohen.
Nay.
Commissioner Garcia.
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder.
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Kozak.
Aye.
Commissioner Metschi.
Aye.
Commissioner Perry.
Aye.
Commissioner Rubenstein.
Aye.
Commissioner Sandberg.
Aye.
Commissioner Schwarzkopf.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commission Chair Clay.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes and 1 nay.
That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the chair's report, and I have nothing to report other than what is already posted on our agenda, so we'll proceed to the next item. Item number 5 is our public hearing item considering a proposal to amend the city charter to address government structure, Article 1, Article 7, and Article 8. At this point, I will open up the public hearing. We have 33 speakers signed up to speak today. We'll be taking speakers in the order that they are registered. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes to address the commission. We have a timer to help speakers monitor the use of their time, and you will hear a buzzer when your time is up. When you are called on to speak, press *6 to unmute your phone. And then wait a moment for a recorded message that says you're unmuted before you begin speaking. Note that if you're using a smartphone and that is muted, you'll also have to unmute that to speak. We'll go through the list, and then if anybody has problems getting through or is late joining us, we'll give people a chance at the end to speak as well. First, I'll call on the first person on the list, Jay Kadrowski. Jay Kadrowski.
Good afternoon. By
Go
way of
ahead, we hear you.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. By way of background, I'm a 54-year resident of Minneapolis. I'm currently employed as a senior fellow at the Humphrey School at the University of Minnesota. Anything I say today is my opinion and not the opinion of the Humphrey School or the University of Minnesota. I have a long history of advising on the Minneapolis Charter and welcome this opportunity. I was an intern for the Charter Commission in 1973 when the commission successfully gave the mayor the planning and budgeting functions as a way of strengthening his executive authority. I was the budget director of Minneapolis from 1978 to 1982, working with Mayor Fraser when he created the executive committee, again to strengthen the executive power of the mayor. I later served on the Charter Commission and tried, unfortunately unsuccessfully, to again strengthen the executive powers of the mayor. Over this time period, I worked incrementally to increase the executive powers of the mayor. I did this because Minneapolis has never adopted a comprehensive form of government in its 161-year history. It has used legislative changes and charter amendments to adapt and revise the charter. As a result, we have a spaghetti organization in the city where it's nearly impossible to determine who has the authority and who has the accountability for the management of the city. Minneapolis, as a result, has underperformed. Our citizens deserve a city government that outperforms. I'm here today to firmly endorse your effort to adopt a comprehensive organization for the city of Minneapolis that increases the mayor's authority to be the chief executive of the city of Minneapolis. I also endorse your proposal that would give the city council a clear and appropriate legislative role.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Lee Munich. Lee Munich.
Hello, my name is Lee Munich. I've lived in Minneapolis all my life. I grew up on the near north side in the 5th Ward, and I represented the 7th Ward on the Minneapolis City Council in the 1970s. I'm currently living in the 3rd Ward. This charter amendment to address the major structural flaw in the Minneapolis City Charter is long overdue. The current Minneapolis system is confusing at best and lacks transparency and accountability to the public. The executive committee was supposed to address the weaknesses in the strong council, weak mayor system, but has only made things worse. I commend the Charter Commission for due diligence in studying in great depth the Minneapolis Charter and gathering information on the structural problems with the current system from those who have been most involved in making our city work. I am a member of the Civic Caucus, a group that fosters learning and debate on Minnesota's critical public policy issues and solutions. During the past few months, we have interviewed former officials and experts, including Chair Barry Clegg, on Minneapolis charter change. The full interviews are available through the Civic Caucus website, civiccaucus.org. These interviews demonstrate to me the need for a structural charter change to create a legislative city council responsible for setting policy and constituent support, and an executive mayor who, as a citywide elected official, has a responsibility for implementing these policies. I am hoping this year will be the time we finally get the Minneapolis Charter right. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Joshua Martin. Joshua.
My name is Josh.
Go ahead.
Yep. My name is Josh Martin. I'm a resident of Ward 8 in the Kingfield neighborhood. I'm opposed to the amendment. Many have said it will make the city government more responsive, but the question is who it will be responsive to. The current system with a large, diverse city council and ward structure helps to ensure that council members are elected by and from the diverse communities that make up Minneapolis, and that these voices are heard in city government. The mayor is elected on a citywide basis, predominantly by voters from whiter, wealthier communities. This proposal would further the inequities in representation. For similar reasons, I urge the commission to reject any calls from commenters to reduce the number of wards or to add at-large representatives. On the question of structure, I believe it is imperative that decisions regarding city government are made by a body which makes its decisions in a transparent, open, deliberative process, rather than relying on a single person who does not need to follow a similar process. If it is believed that a clear executive is needed, I would note that organizations from small nonprofits up to large multinational companies have a single employee as the chief executive, but that person reports in turn to a board of directors. It would seem a similar structure with a city manager who reports to an elected city council would work for the city enterprise, and this structure is used in many cities. Additionally, the amendment fails to meet its goal of a clear separation of executive and legislative authority in regard to the Minneapolis Police Department. The amendment does not touch the complete power language regarding the mayor's authority over MPD, therefore continuing to deprive the council of its policymaking authority in that area. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is John Satorius.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. My name is John Satorius. I'm a 46-year resident of Minneapolis, much of that time in South Minneapolis, and more recently in the 7th Ward in downtown. I also commend the commission, as some other speakers have, for the approach to giving the mayor more accountability, but I'm here to urge the commission to incorporate a new public safety department in its proposed charter amendment along the lines of what the city council proposes, but with that department accountable to the mayor. Commissioner Clegg was quoted in the paper yesterday as suggesting that we citizens who want both a new public safety department and a more accountable mayor can vote for both the city council amendment and the commission's amendment, and that a Department of Public Safety would then emerge by somehow combining those amendments. I think the problem with this approach is that it's asking our citizens who are really committed to having a public safety department to also vote for the commission amendment in the faith that a post-election interpretive process, as yet undefined as to who, when, or how, will give them the public safety department they voted for. The public safety crisis in our city is at a flashpoint that far exceeds concerns about mayoral authority at this point in time. If the commission's amendment enhancing the mayor's executive accountability doesn't also provide for a new public safety department, It'll be attacked in our current hyperpolarized environment as being opposed to police reform. There's a huge risk that even citizens who support a more accountable mayor will reject the commission's amendment and vote only for the public safety amendment because, again, they won't want to put their faith in some kind of post-election process to get that outcome. So I urge the commission to give us citizens both of these critical changes, a new public safety department and a more accountable mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Robert Rule.
Hello, can you?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Clegg, and thank you, fellow commissioners. My name is Rob Ryle. I'm a 34-year resident of Lowry Hill. My comments will be brief. First thing I'd like to say is that I don't think a charter commission should be easy to change. Such decisions put to the voters now run the risk of being tainted by individuals' views of those who actually are in the offices that they hold, when in fact these decisions should transcend the individual incumbents in office. I say that with high confidence because I just finished doing a candidacy survey for a large slice of Minneapolis, and one of the things we evaluated was the current view of 3 proposed charter amendments as worded, and well over a third in all cases did not understand what the charter amendment meant or what it would mean to them. So I would plead for a strong obligation somewhere to make sure that those that vote on these charter amendments, should they make the ballot, know exactly what they mean. And then the third thing that I would share with you, I have read the commission's report quite thoroughly, and I would tell you that in my experience, no specific structure of government is going to be a magic fix to the challenges that we face. We need an ideal structure, but we also need more. And it turns out that out of Geneva, the International Organization for Quality Systems just birthed an entire new standard for world-class performance in local government. I sent this as an admission to my plea to talk today, and I would invite the Charter Commission to learn more about that so that we have the wherewithal to make whatever structure we have work optimally. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Speaker. Sorry about the background noise. The next speaker is Ellen Schmitz. Ellen
Hi.
Schmitz. Go ahead, Ellen.
Hi. Thank you. My name is Ellen Schmitz. I am a lifelong resident of Minneapolis, currently in Ward 12. And I am calling in today in support of the proposed charter amendment to have the strong mayor government structure, removing power from the city council. I'm deeply concerned that the role and responsibility of the city council has evolved into something that was never intended by the original drafters of the city charter. And as a result, we now find ourselves in the wrong hands with city council members who take direction from activist groups rather than the constituents they're supposed to serve. And that's landed us in the current mess we're in, especially in regards to public safety or lack thereof. As a tax-paying homeowner, I have significant stake in the way our city is structured, and I believe the strong mayor approach is prudent at this time. And I thank the commission for their long hours of research and thorough due diligence of a proposed amendment. It's refreshing to see at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Colleen Moriarty.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Colleen Moriarty, and I'm the president of the League of Women Voters in Minneapolis. Thank you, Chair Clegg, for allowing me to speak today regarding the proposed government structure changes to the Minneapolis City Charter related to Article 7, Section 7.1, Mayor. League of Women Voters Minneapolis is an established, nonpartisan organization that encourages informed and active participation in government. We work to increase the understanding of major policy issues, and we influence public policy through education and advocacy. We at the League of Women Voters Minneapolis support a specific proposed charter to the executive function addressing the separation of power initiated by the Charter Commission. Through years of research, discussion, and studies, our members have reached consensus to support a structure that provides the city staff with direct accountability to one authority, in this case, the mayor. We believe this clarification of roles of the mayor and the city council will provide the city with direct accountability and in turn will benefit the residents of the city of Minneapolis by improving the function of city government. Based on research and nonpartisan status, as a 100-year organization in the city of Minneapolis, we ask the Charter Commission to support this change with our membership, which our membership has studied and recommended. The League of Women Voters is an organization fully committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion in principle and in practice. We encourage you to consider all voices as our city struggles with reimagining public safety. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Diane Venters. Diane Venters. Reminder to press *6 to unmute, and if your smartphone is muted, you also have to unmute that. We'll come back and give people an opportunity at the end if they were not here and missed their spot. The next speaker is Al Giessen. Al Giessen.
Thank you, Chair Clegg. My name is Al Giessen. I'm a city resident since 1982. I'm calling in support of the Charter Commission's proposed amendment. Minneapolis government has been known to be cumbersome for elected officials and department heads for many years. The fact that Minneapolis thrived is a credit to past leaders who took extra time to navigate through the difficulties. If we want Minneapolis to be a city that works for everyone, then let's take the handcuffs off our leaders. Let's gain 10, 15, or even 20% efficiency and effectiveness in our governmental process. We do that by making the lines of authority and related responsibilities clear. There are many scholarly works and books supporting this management theory. And for those who believe in following the science, following this theory of management science is a no-brainer. I encourage the Charter Commission to follow through and place this amendment on the ballot. And thanks to all of you for volunteering your time and energy. Good day.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Sharon SelfBenton.
Hello.
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Sharon SelfBenton, and I live in Minneapolis' 2nd Ward. I'm here to speak in support of the proposed changes to the Minneapolis City Charter to clarify the roles and responsibilities of the City Council and the Mayor. As a former member of the City Council and as Mayor of the city, I want to go on record stating that the changes are overdue. Our governance structure is unnecessarily complicated and is difficult for city administrative staff to navigate. I applaud the work of the Charter Commission for conducting a study of the impact of our current governance structure on city administration and operations. Former elected and appointed officials, past and current, spoke candidly about the obstacles encountered because the lines of authority and accountability were and continue to be unclear. The study outlines the negative impact on city staff, on our citizens, and city stakeholders. I'm a strong believer in shared power and authority, but it is high time that the charter state clearly and succinctly that the mayor is the chief executive officer and the city council has legislative authority. I have long advocated that the mayor, who is elected citywide, should have the authority to appoint the charter department heads for a period of time consistent with the mayor's elected 4-year term. The city council in this proposal does and will maintain the right to approve and reject the nomination. Checks and balances remain in place to remove a department head for cause. Again, nothing's changed. Sadly, changes to the charter have gotten caught up in the dismantle the police debate. My strong support for the proposed charter amendment is independent from my opposition to dismantle the police department. Lastly, no city or city department can be effectively or efficiently managed by 14 chief executives. Let's have one chief executive in our city and 13 strong city council members with legislative authority to guide policy decisions for Minneapolis. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Paul Ostro.
Thank you, members of the commission, so much for your good work. I too had the honor of serving Minneapolis as a council member and council president, and as many of you know, in 2008 and 2009 launched an effort to clear those lines of authority with a somewhat different proposal, but a proposal that really largely overlaps with what commissioners are now proposing, and that is to clarify the executive and legislative functions of the city. It was needed then, it is desperately needed now. I was told at the time that the city needed to be in crisis before a change would happen. I think we can fairly say that we are now in that crisis. I do want to make a point, though, that this is not about reducing the power of the city council. One of the points that I made when I tried to accomplish this change 12 years ago was the incredible frustration I had as a council member in getting policies implemented through our Byzantine process. Actually, this system will make it easier for a council member to actually see their policies effectively implemented. And then the other and last point I would like to make to the commission is there are many things that can be done legislatively that have not been done by this city council and can be done even under the commission's proposed changes. And I know I don't have a lot of time, but quickly, we could have more transparency and accountability because we could have more information by changing the disciplinary processes and what information is available to the public. We could have a report to the city council anytime there's a significant settlement and have recommendations on changes in use of force policy. We can change, the city council did change use of force policy after the George Floyd murder and eliminated the chokehold. So there are many policies that are within the authority of the city council, ordinances within the city council, processes within the city council that they have not pursued, frankly, that they can pursue.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Peter Hutchinson.
The commission.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to testify. I live in Ward 3, and I want to thank the commission for the attention it has paid over the last many months to the design of our city government. In the many decades that I've had the privilege to work in organizations of every kind, including Minneapolis City Hall, I've come away with one key realization, that every organization produces exactly the results it is designed to produce and none other. Organizational performance depends most crucially on organizational design. If we want better performance, and we do, we need a better design. The commission's proposal offers just such a better design. And I thank you for developing a proposal that achieves clarification about accountability, authority, and responsibility. I prepared a written statement which I submitted along with my request to testify, which I hope at some point you will review. I make a few suggestions for ways in which I think your proposal could be enhanced. First, with respect to the proposed auditor, which I think is a terrific idea, I hope that you will consider adding language to encourage the auditor to not only look at financial performance, but operating performance, and to not only look for failings, but to look for successes. Such an auditor could be a real asset to the performance of the city. Secondly, with respect to police, I support the idea of adding public safety to the charge. I also support the idea of restructuring the language so that it looks more like the language for other city departments.
including a statement of function, so that this department would be responsible for the safety of all people through both prevention and response. The removal of the first sentence in 7.3, since the rest of the charter proposal already designates the mayor as the chief executive. Adding a statement of direction and also removing the requirement for a minimum budget for the public.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Penny Hunt.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Penny Hunt. I live in Ward 3. I've lived in the city for a long, long time. I'm pleased to speak in support of the Charter Commission's proposed amendment to the Minneapolis City Charter. Others have very eloquently described the importance of this amendment and how the proposed changes will make the Minneapolis City government more accountable and better managed. So I don't think I need to add to that. Although I believe the proposed amendment as currently drafted would dramatically improve the operation and management of the city, I feel strongly, as did a couple of other speakers, feel strongly that it needs to be enhanced by providing for the change of the name of the police department to the Department of Public Safety. I know you're all well aware of widespread discussions about reimagining public safety in Minneapolis. In all likelihood, Minneapolis voters will be asked to vote on one or perhaps two charter amendments focused on creating a public safety department. Charter amendments are confusing to voters. I could speak personally about that, and I know others are often confused. With a change in the name of the police department, your amendment, focusing on the structure of the government, can create the desired public safety department, which will then work to accomplish the broader vision of public safety under discussion. I really fear that without this change, the Charter Commission's amendment could signal a lack of concern about public safety, perhaps even resistance to changes in the police department. I fear that it will confuse voters, particularly if there's another amendment on the ballot. And it could result in opposition to the amendment by voters who do understand the need for the structural changes you propose, but are currently focused, as is the entire community, on police reform and the need for a broader definition of public safety. So once again, I do support the Charter Commission amendment with the name change I described. And thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Patrice Kelch. Press *6 to unmute and unmute your smartphone. Patrice Kelch.
Patrice Kelch.
Sorry.
Hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Great. My name is Patrice Kelch. I moved to Minneapolis in 1981 and have lived in the same house in Seward since 1982. I love my multiracial, immigrant-rich neighborhood. So I'm alarmed by the proposal from the unelected City Charter Commission to take away power from the representatives of the people and the neighborhoods and place it in the hands of a single person. City council members have to be accessible and accountable to the people in their wards. They know their neighborhoods and help constituents in macro and micro problem solving. Though the mayor was granted unusual emergency powers this past year, it was the city council members who showed up and listened and gave people the information they needed to help each other in staying safe. This proposal from the commission would reduce both the transparency and citizen participation in vital decision-making. Instead, it would almost inevitably increase the influence of the whitest and wealthiest segments in Minneapolis. And that's just not acceptable anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Dave Bicking.
Hello, this is Dave Bicking, Ward 8. I oppose this charter amendment. I don't think we should be concentrating more power in the mayor. I think the representation, having representation closer to the people in the city council is better. The structure of the city government of Minneapolis is certainly not perfect, but I think this would take it in the wrong direction. And I fear, I agree with what the previous speaker said about the representation. I think that was excellent. And I fear that a lot of the support for this amendment comes from the very poor performance of the current city council members. And I share the same or similar critiques of much of the city council at the current time. But a change this consequential, I mean, this charter has been around for nearly 100 years. A change this consequential should not be based on the particular people in office at this given time or the particular critiques of what they've been done. This is much more important to keep a structure that I think is more representative of the people and that gives the people a better voice. The city council ward is about the largest area that can be covered by an actual true grassroots campaign, door knocking, staying closer and meeting with constituents. The mayor just cannot do that. It's too large a city for that. So I oppose this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Kathryn Howe. Kathryn Howe, remember to press *6 to unmute. The next speaker is Sandra Colvin-Roy. Sandra Colvin-Roy. The next speaker is Julia Deluca.
Hi, my name is Julia Deluca, and I'm a renter in Northeast Minneapolis, Ward 3. I oppose this proposed amendment to restructure the government and concentrate the power in the mayor's hands. I believe that no matter how much money we have, where we live in our city, or whether we are black, white, or brown, we all deserve a say in our government. I oppose this proposal because it would severely limit the power of the city council, who are elected by the people to represent all wards and the city as a whole. It would make it harder for the city council to provide constituent services and democratic representation, taking away the power and responsibility from poorer folks and less white wards, and hand it to the richest and whitest wards in the city that already have too much power, shown by the makeup of this unelected charter commission. An unelected body of people who do not represent the city of Minneapolis should not be changing the structure and function of the government. It is horrendous and hypocritical to propose that the council must not interfere in the mayor's business and power when interfering with the council's power is just what this unelected body is doing through this proposal. Bringing this proposal up is a distraction and an unnecessary reaction to the movement towards creating a city that is trying to advance racial justice and finally become safe for all residents. I oppose this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Mitchell Hansen. Mitchell Hansen. Again, press *6 to unmute and unmute your smartphone. The next speaker is Robert Reed. Robert.
Good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Robert Reed, and I live in the Nokomis neighborhood, Ward 11. The system that's in place now, with the mayor having policy and executive authority over the police, I believe is anti-democratic. It's giving the mayor all control over all the departments. That's even more authoritarian. I oppose this proposal as this consolidation of power favors the affluent and effectively silences many communities where, tellingly, most of the members of this commission do not live. I dream of a city where everyone's voice counts equally, no matter where you live or how much money you do or do not make. Finally, the proposal decreases transparency and citizen access to decision-making by concentrating power in the hands of just one person. I would like to leave by asking just one question. If the mayor happens to be someone you did not vote for, how would you feel? How would it sit with you if the mayor whom you were opposed to were now to be in charge of all the city departments? Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is, I must admit, I lost my place. Was that Mitchell Hansen or Robert Reed?
That was Robert Reed, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The next speaker is Samuel Smith. Samuel Smith. The next speaker is Daisy Jones.
Hi, my name is Daisy and I live in the Whittier neighborhood. No matter where we live or who we are, we all deserve a say in our government. I strongly oppose this proposal because it weakens the most representative and democratic body the city has in the city council. This proposal would disproportionately give power and responsibility to the richest, whitest wards in the city who already have too much influence on our city government. I strongly oppose this proposal and am angered by the efforts to offset the work done by grassroots organizing. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Jane Satala Jones. Jane Satala Jones. The next speaker is Jason Green. Jason Green. The next speaker looks like Kenneth Brown. Kenneth Brown. The next speaker is Chris Lepping-Shands.
Hi, this is Chris Lepping-Shands. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Wonderful. Hi there. My name is Chris Lepping-Shands. I've been a resident of Ward 10 for a year, but I've lived in Minnesota all my life. First off, I'd just like to state that it would be completely unreasonable, or nay, impossible, to ask a mayor of the city of Minneapolis to represent every single person's views in a city of almost 3 million people. It is not the job of the unelected Charter Commission to dictate the will of the people by taking power away from those who are closer, or who are a closer representation of the makeup of the different diverse neighborhoods in the city of Minneapolis. By taking away power from those that represent these diverse voices of Minneapolis, you shut out and ignore those voices. Now is not the time to take more power from the underrepresented and give it to those who are simply the most wealthy, most affluent, or most white. Furthermore, the mayor currently does not need yet more unrestricted power over the city of Minneapolis. Hold people accountable and keep working towards a better future that better represents every single person here. Thank you. I strongly oppose also, just to make that clear.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Kathryn Hammond. Kathryn Hammond.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
Kathryn?
we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for having me here today. I wanted to say that my experience, I live in Ward 3, and my experience being active in both the for-profit and nonprofit worlds has led me to believe that multiple decision makers actually leads to a lack of accountability and therefore I support the proposed charter amendment, city charter committee amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Elizabeth Gray.
Hi, this is Elizabeth Gray, and I am a 22-year resident of Ward 3, and I support the proposal to have the mayor serve as the chief executive for the city's departments. We need clear lines of accountability amongst our city leaders and the departments that make our city run. I concur with previous testimonies that Minneapolis has underperformed its citizens, and these structural issues must be addressed. Thank you to the Commission for the research and thought that has gone into this proposal, and I do wholeheartedly support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is our very own Dan Cohen.
Thank you. I commend the chairs of the Structure Committee for their fine work, and I support the effort to put this on the ballot. But there is one flaw that must be addressed, and that is removal 8 sections A and B, which are, in my opinion, an unconstitutional violation of the 6th Amendment, and create a kangaroo court where the punished people will be faced with removal, but without any provision being made for trial by jury, indictment, or legal representation, which are key elements of the 6th Amendment. I will address these matters with a formal motion at the next meeting of the Charter Commission. I also think for removal section is bad public policy. It casts the City Council in a quasi-judicial role when it is an administrative and legislative body. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Kevin Frizzell.
Chair Clay.
Please go ahead. We can hear you.
Good afternoon, Chair Clegg and members of the Commission. When I learned that you were first looking into this important issue, I sent my written comments suggesting that I hoped you would take a look at a council manager form of government, and I still believe that would be the best form to bridge a lot of the competing objectives that are being expressed today. But the reason for my call today is to offer a couple of comments about the city position of city coordinator within your structure. I've already sent some written comments that you'll be receiving, but I wanted to verbally and publicly restate my thoughts. I think an important key to making your proposed structure of an executive mayor legislative council work well is also clarifying the role of the city coordinator. Your own interviews with former elected officials identified the importance of this position to the smooth functioning of our city government. Coordinating activities across departments and providing information to both the mayor and council is one of the coordinator's roles. If the coordinator reports only to the mayor, as he or she would under your structure, without any other language changes in the charter, I fear that serving as that bridge and providing overall professional leadership to the whole city could get seriously compromised. I'm not suggesting that I have the exact answer as to how you should structure this position, but I would suggest that as you refine your final proposal to send to the voters, consider whether some additional clarifying language on the role of the coordinator could be helpful. And of course, start out your research by talking to our current city coordinator and some of our past coordinators in the city, including the excellent one that serves on your charter commission. Thanks for listening to my comments.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Olin Fruchart.
Hello, can you
Hello.
hear me?
Please go ahead.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Olin. I'm a resident of Ward 10, and I'm speaking to strongly oppose this proposal. I want to echo a lot of things that have already been said, and also say that I understand some of the things that are brought up about frustrations with the current city council. However, that is not a reason to radically change something that's been in place for 100 years that guarantee equitable representation of people across the city. The city has failed in a lot of ways, the Black and brown and low-income people. However, the solution is not for an unelected commission to decide for the people and consolidate power in the hands of a single person that doesn't represent the broader 3 million people in the city. And honestly, like in a year where both individually and as a community, we've had to take a really hard look at equity in our systems, I'm honestly pretty shocked and disappointed at both the makeup of this commission as well as this proposal. I'd also like to say that none of those who have spoken in support of it have addressed any of the equity concerns that have been brought up by many other speakers. I'd like to ask a question, why is that? And if you decide to move forward with this proposal, why are you comfortable with that? Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. The next speaker is Matt Brillhart.
Matt Brillhart, Ward 12.
Yes, please go ahead.
Before I comment on the amendment, I would just urge everyone listening not to view this proposal narrowly through the lens of recent events. The idea of moving Minneapolis in the direction of a strong mayor system isn't new. The quote-unquote 14 bosses problem has been discussed for several years, probably several decades. Notable critics of the current structure include former elected officials and former high-level city staff, some of whom spoke earlier. I testify today in support of putting this amendment to the voters. That said, I think the proposed amendment falls short in the regard that it doesn't do as much to reform the government structure on the staff side of things. This amendment could also consider strengthening the role of what is currently the position of city coordinator into a city manager or administrator who is appointed by the mayor and council and directly oversees all department heads. In St. Paul, this chief executive is called deputy mayor, and I quote from their website, manages the daily operations of the government, including its 14 departments and more than 3,000 employees. Former Minneapolis City Coordinator Spencer Cronk spoke at length about the shortcomings of the limited power of the coordinator in exit interviews that he did with the Star Tribune and MinPost for anyone interested. Finally, as this amendment advances through the process, I ask the Charter Commission to be cognizant of the fact that at least in recent history, charter amendments have been approved quite handily by voters, even those that did not have any formal campaign behind them. And this year, there's another amendment on the ballot, one that will have a well-funded and organized campaign for a yes vote, and likely on the no side as well. This amendment may sink or swim entirely based on whether the other amendment passes or fails. And for that reason, you may want to consider delaying this amendment to a future election, possibly paired with a more robust and deliberate consideration of those other changes to the structure of the city government that I discussed. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Our next speaker is Joan Nemec. Joan Nemec, press *6 to unmute. Unmute your smartphone. Well, that's the list. We've made it through everybody on the list in good order. I would ask if there is anyone who was signed up to speak who perhaps missed the opportunity or couldn't unmute their phone to identify themselves now.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
This is Kathryn Howe.
Please go ahead.
Able to get in the first time. Hello. I am in the Standish Erickson neighborhood, and most of what I said has been said by others, I'm happy to say. But I am also very concerned about the fact that the commission is mostly white, and as I understand it, more from the well-to-do people, and that our city council is more highly representative of all the people of the city, wards where we have Black, Brown, Indigenous, rich, and poor. And I think that this proposal, while it may have good points, I don't know, but it is not representative of all the people in our city. And I'm surprised that people are satisfied with that. we must be listening to all the people of our city and not just those of us who are more influential. So that is what I'm concerned about. It's what I'm concerned about with the power that this commission seems to have. So I think we all need to, especially in these times, always be looking at that with anything that we're bringing to the fore for this city, when those issues of equity are what is so important in healing this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Are there any other speakers who were skipped over the first time we called on them and are now here?
Hello.
Please go ahead.
Hello. My name is Sandy Colvin Roy.
Please go ahead.
Can you hear me? I'm
Yes,
on the list.
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much for your patience. My husband and I live in the 12th Ward, Keewaydin neighborhood. Now, I have lived in this city for 50 years as an adult and counting student. Okay, in many parts of South Minneapolis, I have lived with and worked with many different mayors, police chiefs, and council members. As a council member serving the 12th Ward, I learned that working hard at really listening to details of people's problems and talking with the local patrol officers, changes were made. The system did work. It can. But agree that reforms are needed. What I'm here to say today is I'm happy to say that our Minneapolis Seniors DFL Caucus strongly supports this effort to clean up city management. By your work, you are offering us a good charter change. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Speaker. Again, last call, if we skipped anybody over, or if they couldn't unmute, if you are signed up and have not spoken so far, now is your chance. I'm not hearing anyone. The next regular meeting of the Charter Commission will be the first Wednesday in April, which is April 7th at 4 p.m. Seeing no additional speakers, and seeing that that's concluded all of our business today, I'll now close today's public hearing. So now we've concluded all business to come before the Charter Commission. Without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.